Flowing with the river of life means understanding that as long as you are choosing the direction, you're choosing the vision, and you're walking towards it, sometimes the people and the circumstances that show up are out of our control and different than we envisioned, but ultimately it's either what we want or better. It's either a lesson or exactly what we're asking for, right? It is always happening for us and never to us, and so it's important to let life take the lead sometimes as well. That's co-creation, honestly. It's understanding when, co-creation is a dance, it's a tango, and so you have to understand when you are leading and when you need to let life lead as well, right? So demanding what it is that you want and walking towards it, and then recognizing when something that's meant to be seen and experienced and nourished for either a lesson or for growth or whatever the case may be, sitting and tasting and savoring that as well. Hello everyone, what is up? I hope you are well, or as well as you possibly can be. Given the circumstances of existing, I start every video the same exact way. I don't know if you picked up on it by now. If you've returned, if you are new here, hi! My name is Jasmine. I am a spiritual counselor. I'm a journalist. I'm a girl just hopping around life and doing the best that she can. And I'm so grateful to be gifting my voice to Smudge Wellness because they're an incredible platform and they gift me the opportunity of talking about very important topics like today's, which is the art of co-creation. Now, I think that this is a topic that is always timely, but is like especially timely right now because if you're watching this around the time of upload, this is very evergreen content. You can watch this at any time. It will be it'll resonate. But if you happen to be watching around the time of upload, then we are in Aries season, and I've been talking a lot about how the energy right now is very much impulsive and initiative. And Aries being one of the cardinal signs, there's this element of initiation and doing and starting. And so we're really like in this action-oriented space where we are no longer allowing ourselves to stay stagnated in a state of overthinking or contemplating or how our ideas and the things that we want to give birth to will be received or the fear around them. And we're just kind of like jumping off the ledge and then knowing that we'll be caught somewhere along the free fall. And so I'll talk more about that energy, but it's so worth noting that this plays a very large role in the art of co-creation. So basically I'll get into more details of like how to really live a life that honors co-creation, but just in an overall sense, when we are manifesting and when we are building lives that honor our fullest potential and our purpose and just, set us free from, anxiety or just, not living life to our fullest potential, the art of co-creation is extremely important when it comes to like the actual process of bringing and realizing your dreams into reality. Because the thing about it is, if we are always in a state of doing or creating without the trust nor the guidance or the awareness of the fact that there's something larger than us kind of carrying us through the process, we're going to burn out. We're going to want to control circumstances that are outside of our control. We're going to not have perspective, not have trust, succumb a lot to fear and think that because we're in this hyperactive independent state where we are doing everything for ourselves and that there's something larger than us kind of painting or leading or guiding the way, not only are we just going to be, energetically depleted by that, but we're going to miss the signs and synchronicities and the guidance that comes from co-creating with the universe that makes the whole process easier. And conversely, if you're in a state where you're like, I'm going to write down all of my intentions on a paper, I'm going to burn all the things that I don't want, and then I'm going to sit back and I'm going to watch the universe sort of like bring it into fruition for me, nothing is going to happen. Like there's such an important balance that comes with mastering both action and trust. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that today. So the first thing that I want to say about the art of co-creation that I think is so important is what I just referenced or alluded to, which is aligned action. So when we want these goals, when we want these things for ourselves, when we see the larger vision of our life, it is so important that we communicate that clearly and succinctly to the universe, right? Whether that means you're writing it down, whether you're meditating on it, whether you are, getting into your human design can also kind of point you towards how to communicate it to the universe. So if you're a manifesting generator, I know visualization is really good for us. So like if you're visualizing it, if you're seeing it, if you're asking for it, it's very important that you're doing so in a way that's clear and succinct, and that you are just without any blur, without any doubt, you're letting the universe know what it is that you want. But where the co-creation part comes up is that you need to take the actionable steps towards that goal, right? So not only is communicating to the universe that you want it important, but it is trusting that the universe has heard your order, is working on it, and will guide you towards it as you make that forward movement on your own. Forward movement begets forward movement, and it's important to note that if you feel yourself in a state of stagnancy, in a state of just feeling stuck in your circumstance, and you felt like I've already, communicated to the universe what it is that I want, and yet nothing is happening, making some sort of forward step is going to introduce more movement and communicate something very importantly energetic to the universe. Everything in this universe is an energetic exchange and communication within frequency and energy. So if you're sitting in a space of stagnancy and you're constantly aware of your stagnancy and you're feeding the awareness of your stagnancy with more awareness of your stagnancy, you're just going to stay stagnant. But if you witness your stagnancy, communicate very clearly to the universe what it is that you want to call into fruition, and then begin to take whatever step towards that is possible for you, that is going to introduce and unveil another step, that's going to introduce and unveil another step, and eventually get you towards walking, and then eventually jogging, and then eventually running, and then eventually soaring. So it's important to note that you cannot beat yourself up if that first step is very minuscule. So if it looks like, for example, if you have an idea for a small business that you want to start and you don't see, the avenues towards starting it, but you think, okay, well, I can at the very least buy the domain, or I can start the Instagram, or I can sort of, do a test run in this kind of way. However minuscule that first step is, understand that that movement is going to start introducing energy into your manifestation and make room and leeway for more opportunities for more movement. So just taking a step towards, no matter how small, large you measure that step to be, is so important when it comes to co-creation, right? Trusting that as you make that movement, the universe is going to meet you there and give you the opportunities, open the doors, introduce you to the guides that are going to introduce you to the next step. And I think what typically stops us from taking those steps, whatever those steps looks like for us, is fear. And so what I really want to drive in today is that moving forward and co-creating with the universe is recognizing the fact that you will never be in the absence of fear, right? I think that we believe healing to be this thing where we arrive at a version of ourselves that is fearless and that, never feels any form of anxiety or negativity or any uncomfortable emotion, right? We just live a life free of discomfort. We're free falling in trust and manifestation and bliss all the time. And it's so important to know that you are never going to feel ready. You are never going to feel absent of fear. You may have high moments, you may have moments of extreme bravery, you may have moments where you think, wait, no, I am ready, I really have done a lot of work and I'm ready, right? But that idea that, if you're on the ledge and jumping means initiating or saying something or getting into that relationship or changing something about your life really drastic yet scary, understand that, that holy shit, I have to jump feeling, your body's ever going to be like, okay, I've been clenched for enough time, I'm ready, you can jump now. It is always going to be to some degree scary. But when it comes to manifesting and just introducing things into your life, the most magnetic thing that you can do for yourself is taking that leap, whatever that leap looks like in your specific situation. Because understand that in the before, you're not going to feel the release of fear or the release of, I'm not ready. That's never going to go away. But it is during the free fall, during the witnessing the fear and saying, I feel you, I see you, I recognize you, I acknowledge you, I validate you, and I'm still going to do it. It's in the free fall that you begin to feel the ease, where the universe meets you, where the net eventually manifests under you. And that's the whole thing about co-creation, right? Co-creation is mastering all of the dualities, and it's balance, right? Balancing having both your masculine and feminine working in divine order, right? So you need to be in that masculine, that doing, but you also need to be in that divine feminine of receiving, right? Because both balance each other out. You will receive the more that you communicate through your movement, and then you'll get to the places where you can receive when you embark on that movement, right? And you'll burn yourself out if you're only moving, but you'll kind of stay stuck if you're only receiving. So understanding that it's balancing that, it's balancing letting go and planting seeds, right? So asking, but also freeing up the space for what you're asking for by releasing. And these are physical things, these are energetic things, these are, relationship circumstances, obligations, understanding that shedding is the same as birthing, endings are the same as beginnings, divine masculine bleeds into divine feminine, and doing and receiving are just all meant to be done in one breath. The art of co-creation is understanding that jumping means you are trusting in your safety. And trusting in your safety means trusting that you're not doing this alone. That's the whole part of co-creation. You know, you have to meet whoever you feel guided by or gifted your life by in the middle by arriving there yourself, right? But that also means trusting that there is a middle you'll be met at. And so the reason why at the top of this video I said that it was so important that I talk about this during Aries season is because we're working with a very impulsive energy, and if you are someone who considers himself to be a chronic overthinker, then same. It's worth, you know, realizing the fact that we can really get stuck in our heads, and we can get stuck in imagining how the idea we want to embark on or create will be received, the fear, you know, imposter syndrome. Can we even do it? Will we be able to maintain the opportunities or the results of it? And even relationships, right? I think we can build such a safety in perhaps our singlehood or perhaps codependency that like the fear of what taking that leap of faith that you know will gift you, like the fear of it is just, it can really keep you stuck there. And so this Aries season is all about impulse and initiation. And honestly, Miley Cyrus has this line, I talked about this in my Aries update video, about she says, I'd rather just do it and I'll think about it later. And of course, rationality and logical thinking is very, very, very important and useful, but you know, save those for retrograde seasons. Save those for the times in which we are being invited to be introspective. But if right now you're being called to initiate, to do, to create, then you want to make sure you, as my mom puts pots and pans away, then you want to make sure you're taking that aligned action, and that the action you take is derivative of soul, of purpose, of bravery, of trust, rather than like ego or what doesn't feel right. You always want to make sure that when you take any sort of action towards your vision, that you're checking in with your body and you're asking yourself, where is this action coming from? Is it sourced by you know, sheer will and trust, or is it being sourced by wanting to be externally validated, or perhaps even, you know, a lot of actions can be stemmed from fear. So it's really important that if you are in an impulsive state, you're not making fear-based actions, but rather bravery-based actions or trust-based actions. And you'll know that the more that you build an intimate dialogue with your body. So build an intimate dialogue with your body, be very, very clear and communicative with the universe what it is that you want to call into your life, and then take that action. Even if it's a minute, small little itty bitty action, take the action, because I promise you that step is going to communicate to the universe, I'm ready, I'm walking towards it, as scary as this is. I mean, I don't know any mother that like got pregnant, they were like, yeah, no, I'm ready. I mean, unless you've been like an IVF or you know what I mean, but like there's always going to be fear and anxiety met with something new, because it's not necessarily a negative thing. I think we demonize fear a lot, when sometimes fear is just information, like, oh, that's a new thing, that's a new territory, that's something that's unknown, and therefore I'm uncomfortable with it. And that's why you have to meet your fear with compassion and say, I get it, this is a scary thing for us, that's new, that's unknown, that is going to challenge me to be a version of myself I've never been, or to exert or, you know, exercise a skill I've never had to exert or exercise. But I've done enough work on myself to know that what that small limb, like the larger picture that it is part of, the larger life, the fullest potential of myself that it's part of, I deserve and am worthy of. And so I'm going to walk towards it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to hold fear's hand and say, I still choose to do, and go and jump. And I think what's also really important about co-creation is understanding that it really calls for us to let go of the parts that we can't control, right? So when you're taking that aligned action and you're walking towards, you really are only in the state of controlling what it is that you can control. And there's so much about the path that is going to organically unfold that is going to 9 times out of 10 look different than how you envisioned it, right? If you are calling in love and you're taking the steps towards living a life of self-worth that is self-resourced, so that you can call in that healthy relationship, and then perhaps a partner that you never even visualized for yourself. You know, you're thinking you want this, like, you know, this British guy with tattoos who's super romantic, and then you end up getting like this super rugged boy next door who's actually really sweet and has all of the qualities necessary to actually really nurture a healthy relationship with you shows up. It's important to note that sometimes you have to flow with the river of life and recognize where you are compromising versus when you are too attached to control or narrative that is keeping you safe. AKA just, you know, it's a trauma response, right? When we can control, there's no rejection. It's a whole thing, right? therapy is fun. But flowing with the river of life means understanding that as long as you are choosing the direction, you're choosing the vision, and you're walking towards it, sometimes the people and the circumstances that show up are out of our control and different that we envision, but ultimately it's either what we want or better. It's either a lesson or exactly what we're asking for, right? It is always happening for us and never to us. And so it's important to let life take the lead sometimes as well. That's co-creation, honestly. It's understanding when, co-creation is a dance, it's a tango. And so you have to understand when you are leading and when you need to let life lead as well, right? So demanding what it is that you want and walking towards it, and then recognizing when something that's meant to be seen and experienced and nourished for either a lesson or for growth or whatever the case may be, sitting and tasting and savoring that as well. And I'm hoping that this resonates because I'm leaving this super general because it's something that can be applied to so many different circumstances that are, particular to you. But I mean, this can be applied to career aspirations, creative projects, relationships, your own personal fitness or health goals, whatever it is that you are calling into your life. There is some sort of dance or choreography that needs co-creation in order to come into full fruition. So reflect in your own life and what areas are you trying to manifest in, and just reflect on how you're responding or acting within those areas. Are you being too controlling, or are you actually not clear on your vision at all? Are you letting life have a say at all? Are you flowing with the river of life, or are you paddling so hard that your arms are exhausted and now you've gone nowhere because you didn't even realize you were going in circles? See where you need to let go and shed, see where you need to invite in and plant seed, but ultimately see how, whether you are sitting on that couch and just expecting for your lover to knock on your door instead of actually setting the vision and going out and dating, or if you have this idea for this like large empire that you want to build and yet you're too scared to even start the Instagram for it, really look at where you're at on either end of the spectrum, because no extreme really is going to do the job. You need to find yourself in a healthy middle. Especially when it comes to the divine masculine and divine feminine, are you doing and are you receiving within the same breath? So yeah, and also just with us being in spring season, and this is just so much about tending to our gardens and really looking at what we've nurtured and the nectar that we poured into, what we've grown for ourselves. There's room for everyone to live their fullest dreams. There's room for everyone to live their fullest dreams. And there is such fertile soil for manifestations that are aligned with the goodness of all those involved. Consciousness is it can seem as if it's not right now, but consciousness has evolved into such a beautiful state vibrationally. And I think that there's just such a potency for calling in our truest and most vibrant and alive and bold and rich desires if we simply trust in whatever form of God you believe in that is working with you, and also believe in yourself and the version of you that you've nurtured and curated and cared for and grown into to get you there as well. So yeah. So yes, if you are exhausted right now, then look at the ways in which you can be letting life lead a bit more. And if you are feeling just drained by just staying stuck and in the same narrative, look at the ways in which you need to be taking aligned action to meet the universe there. With that being said, thank you so much for watching. I hope that this served you in any way. Let me know if it did. Thank you to Smudge Wellness for housing my voice. They're an incredible platform. Please check them out. As for me, you can, God, I always forget how to plug myself. You can book a one-on-one with me because I do readings and things like that on jasminekylene.com, or you can follow me on Instagram at jasminekylene for more conscious content. That's it. I hope you're well. Have a good one.